What a way to start episode 31 of the Follow Up Podcast. Today we have another Diary of a CEO episode. And to our audience of maybe one, maybe a million, who knows? I'm sorry. Conley keeps adding different types of podcasts and different topics in there. And I keep going back to the same ones. And this is probably the main one. But it's Diary of CEO, just came out. It's the one with Tristan Harris. AI expert is what he calls him. He doesn't say his name. That's weird. Very much a Doomer AI episode, but it's the most fascinating conversation in my mind right now. So I ate it up. And with me today, I have the person bringing the doom himself, the AI engineer, Conley, to talk to me with it.
Yeah, I was thinking about the episode today, and you gave me two options. There's this and then the health one. And my initial was the AI one because I was just like, when I was listening to it, I was really into it. And then I kind of am just thinking about it. I'm like, man, do I want to be talking about another Doomer AI episode again? I'm like, I don't know if I do, but it's such an interesting topic. Like if you're not talking about it, it's because you're scared. And
Or
that's
you're
reasonable.
trying to remain blissfully ignorant.
Yeah. And like just getting into this episode, like he so this is the guy who directed, I believe, or helped develop the Social Dilemma on Netflix. It was like really big, I think during COVID or maybe just before COVID. And it was exploiting like
It's
how
after.
Okay, yeah, it was exploiting how the social media companies have just optimized for really addictive algorithms uh, with the idea to keep people on the platform, and that's their only goal. And he's like, and that's like kind of what he exploits, and then he explains that as developers, they have a bigger responsibility than that. But that was like basically a social dilemma. And I think even in this episode at the beginning, they're like, this is social dilemma part two. Um, but there were so many interesting, I guess, ideas, really borderline facts. Like it'll have to come out as facts one day, but like just stuff he's exposing about where AI is going and how similar it was to the social dilemma and um, really the responsibilities engineers have. And so
Yeah.
it was very interesting. He's the lead guy in that field of like AI safety, development, algorithm safety, which is kind of it's one of those fields where
There's
I'm
like two
always
people.
skeptical of. Yeah, and you're always skeptical of. Well, because like they're only successful if they find bad things or they bring up a bad story or like make bad press, right? So their job is to find bad press. And it's just like you got to be a little skeptical of those people. But like a podcast is a great form for them to kind of share what their findings.
Yeah. He described the way they're going after general intelligence as, and it was I liked how he said it because I hadn't clicked for me yet. It was they're trying to automate automation programming. In other words, getting good at coding to where it can improve itself, and then the snowball starts.
Yeah,
And I don't know why
the
that didn't click, but that definitely clicked afterwards. So you're not in that group per se.
I I'm not too far removed from it, but no, I'm not the one kind of finding new algorithm science
Yeah.
models. I'm
Because I
I'm
mean, if
it.
you were, one of the solutions would be, take you out. I'm like, you're the enemy, right? I mean, you are so close. Do you ever think you'd be a part of something that could end humanity? So like,
It's
I
crazy.
built I built a nuclear bomber, and you have that thought from time to time. You're like, oh crap, if they ever use this, humanity could end. It could very realistically end. And you tell yourself, you're like, oh, I do this, so no one else messes with us. So no war start, so we're good. So we don't have to use it. And that's what everyone that worked on that bomber thought. I'm curious, have you had that same thought?
Um, I don't think I've thought. So what they said in the podcast is they asked all that they did like polling on the engineers, right, that were working on it. And I had the same thought as them, but there's obviously on a bigger level of like kind of like if you can't beat them, join them
Yeah.
and be the last one to lose your job. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
like that was always my take because obviously like it's not a destructive thing to build, right? It's I mean it is, but not in a physical sense. Um, and so that was kind of always my perspective, and it felt inevitable. Now, he brought up good points about the inevitability of it and kind of the two sides of the argument of one, it's either the AGI is going to be uh, basically no control and it's AGI is gonna control itself and tell it and know what it wants to do, or it's gonna be guardrails and we're gonna be able to control it. And that was kind of the two sides of the coin when they were like talking about AI safety, and that's why they argue that AI or US needs less regulation on AI is because we want to be China to the AGI if it's going to be the all knowing and no one can control it. Um, and so, yeah, they have a lot bigger decision to be made and a lot more going on. But for me, it was always just like it seems inevitable, obvious from like even before the whole GPT chat interface release. Like this is where we're going. This is where I want to be.
It does feel inevitable. Like he part of his argument was, or his plea to the listeners was to not think of it as inevitable that we can stop it. I can't get there.
Yeah,
Like, the only thing I can talk myself into is there's this law in physics we don't understand where you can't use a sum of intelligence and turn that into more intelligence.
yeah. The
But
thing that always has painted such a picture of inevitability in my head is like Um, so I read a book in college that really it was a crazy story about how I found this book. So in college I figured out I liked learning and education and I went to a library for the first time and I was walking through the library. It's like 10 o'clock at night by myself weeknight. And I picked out two books and one was Artificial Intelligence, How to Think Like Humans. And it was like one of the flagship books in AI, one of the uh, leading professors that's referenced a lot now. He was a Canadian professor, but it was like the first book I picked up, and I like read the first half of it, which was just not something I did. Um, but it started out the first chapters. There's a prologue, obviously, but it started out like explaining the very fundamentals, the ones and zeros, the binary of what AI is, and basically the high level concept I took away of it is a backward engineer our brains from the smallest. They call it an AI.
neuron,
Yeah, neuron. And AI we call them perceptrons. But they backward engineer all the way back there, and that's the very
perceptron.
perceptron is what they call it.
Okay, all right.
It's the same thing. Basically, you get an input and it outputs a yes or no, basically. But it's like it's that weight.
Is that a physical piece of the silicon, or is that just a digital
Um, well, that's
binary?
conceptual, right? Um, but I think that's like where that's the weights they talk about, and like a neural network's just a bunch of little switches that have like weights given whatever the input is. Um, and but basically, what where I'm getting to was at a high level, we backward engineered our brains, and everything I look at is we're all humans do is recognize patterns. We're taught patterns in school. We're taught to memorize. Math is all patterns. The reason we have to show our work in math is to show that we understand the patterns, right? And I don't see how those our large language models are any different from our brains. And like when people are skeptical and they make their TikTok clips and the short clips and they're like, all it does is recognize patterns. I have a hard time saying that's not what we do.
Sure.
So
Sure.
that's
Yeah.
where my inevitability and what you were kind of talking about of is there like a scaling law that we don't see? I just from a fundamental standpoint, I don't see how it doesn't end up kind of being that AGI scenario. I hate to say that. I really do.
So he used a word I hadn't heard before. I really liked it. It was the AI jaggedness, where he talked about how an AI is both like a PhD in microbiology, but you ask it to generate a picture and it'll generate one with 6 fingers on a person. So it's extremely dumb and extremely smart at the same time. And
If
he
you
talked
ask
about
my
how
wife, no, that's what she would say about me.
they talked for a good long while about like the human brain not being able to handle two contradictory ideas. Like, is AI smart or is AI dumb? And I feel like a lot of people either have that when they've used it, they're like, oh, dumb parlor trick, throw that over there, or this is going to replace everything, throw it over there. Um,
I
I
would like
like
to
that
add there's
term.
a bias to that too. Most of the skeptics that I've seen in like kind of probably like over a year ago ish, kind of when it was hitting the scene, everyone's like, everyone had a scenario. Everyone I worked with, I would say about 80% of people hated on it. 90%. Maybe back to 2 years to now. That's kind of what I heard when I talked to people is 90% of people would say, yeah, it's cool, but it's really stupid. And they'd tell me a scenario of how it didn't work. And I always thought that AI is a tool. And if you don't know how to use a tool, it's not the tool's fault, right? And
Yeah.
it's and that's why there's a big term in the industry called prompt engineering and context engineering. Basically, it's like, are you using the tool right? Are you providing it the right information in the right directions? Then it can like there's what I found, especially with like app and server development, is it can do all the tasks I want it to do. It's did I provide it the right information and give it the right instructions? And yeah, like I could see how you could say, well, you're doing it for it, but no, in development at least, there's a lot of work in between telling some telling someone a plan, telling a developer a plan, and then executing, right? So if it can do all the execution with the right instructions, that tells me it's a good tool. You just have to know how to use it. But yeah, people that I witnessed a lot of bias because people I think don't want it to be good.
So I recently got Gemini Pro. I was redoing my resume. I wanted to spend, $15 for this month to help me with my resume. I thought it was easy money. And I'm playing around with it. And there's still, especially the photo generation, right? This is the best AI in the world. And it has answered every question I've ever wanted. And now it's like nuanced. It shows both sides of the story. It doesn't caveat everything a billion times like it used to. It's getting there. But there's still, you're like, you didn't even come close on this one. I thought, I don't know, it's unique. I guess you said Corinne's they describes you that way. You can be really smart and really dumb. And I guess people can be, but most of the time, my experience, you're either smart or you're not. Like I get the street smart stuff, but it's
Um,
weird to see someone it's like someone being like genius in math and not knowing how to spell basic words. It would be like that kind of weird.
um, so yeah, that it is weird concepts. But if I double click into what you're saying, how are you using it? One tip I'd give, or I'd be curious if you could try it for me and see how your results work. So when you are using it and you feel like it did something wrong, instead of correcting it, because once you correct it, there's like kind of different threads. It has different concepts. It has to first be like, in this part of the conversation, I said this, and now he's saying that's wrong, and it's a weird thread. It has to like the model has to kind of put together to generate the next response. And so instead of appending another message, edit your first message the one you think it had an incorrect output on it, edit that first one with either instructions to kind of guide it in the right direction to fix whatever it outputted was incorrect, or information that it can then interpret to correct the output information, the correct outputted information.
Yeah.
See if that works better. And then if you can like edit your prompt and you can say, oh, I changed 5 words, or I added 5 words, or I added a sentence to my prompt and now it's correct. I think that's probably what you'll find. But that's kind of, I don't know. I'm curious if you can try that and if that works for you.
I'll try it. It's just a smart person doesn't need a well laid out question, right? And that goes more back to the jaggedness. Like this thing is so sensitive sometimes that there might need to be a position called a prompt engineer to go and tell it exactly what to do.
Yeah, that's kind of where we're at now. And I would actually, what I think is going on right now is it's actually a lot more jagged than we see. So when you send in a chat to Gemini, it's actually going to probably rewrite that prompt before it sends it to a model. When you click submit, it goes through a first model and says, rewrite this prompt so it's more instructive, it has any other context, and it's probably going to do that 3 times, and then say, combine those and make the best one for me, and then send it to the model. And like, there's so much meta prompting happening. So like a lot of what I do is all that meta prompting. It's like, what context can I provide this process? How do I need to word it? If it's incorrect in this way every single time, how do I need to word it? I think that's a lot of what these what you don't see under the hood. And then like, for example, um there's a lot of examples. I probably don't need to get into the examples. So I'll let you go ahead.
Well, I learned something, but that's wild. I don't even I can't even comprehend how to start programming. Like I can picture you when you have a very narrow data set and like things you're trying to get to an answer to. But like for Google to do it with Gemini, like
Yeah.
and you know, you have the entire world's questions. That sounds
Oh
wild.
yeah. Yeah, that large data would be scary to and like they fail. I never
Yeah.
thought, you told me last year that Gemini, that Google would be leading AI right now. I would
But
have
yeah,
I would have laughed you out of the room. I would have said they are they're way too DEI'd, they are corrupted, they're too big, they're never gonna figure it out.
but you
But
know what's more important to them than DEI?
money.
Keeping that,
Yeah.
multi-billion-dollar faucet called Google going.
That
Oh my
reminds
gosh,
me. Go ahead. I'm gonna
no, they
pull
they ditched that Black George Washington really fast when they started losing search results.
crazy, man. That they even got that far in the first. That they thought that that's something they could roll out.
Yeah, that might have been. I mean, that was one of the key milestones. Like when I think back to how did DI die, and I think it's dying right now. That was one of the key ones. It's like, oh, this is a pivotal technology, and it's poisoning it. Not only is it poisoning a university or kids or corporations, but here's this like we got to go win this, and you got Black George Washington.
Have you seen the video of Larry Page in like the 2000s talking about what he sees Google turning into, and basically he explains what LLMs are?
No,
Let me share this. Hopefully this is the right one. Let me know if you can hear this.
that's not Larry Page.
The
Is that
ultimate
Larry Page? Wow.
it'll give you the right thing.
I guess it is 25
Um,
years ago.
It wasn't full video, but when I saw that video, I thought it was fake. I had to look it up because I saw a clip of it. I was like, he goes in a
It
little
may
bit
be
more
fake,
depth.
Conley. Could be fake. You don't know. Could be Asian
Um,
or.
that video was on YouTube for a while, so I'm pretty confident in that one. But basically, if it was kind of hard to hear or whatever, he explained that he explained the AI mode of Google right now, where you search it and instead of pulling up pages, it interprets all the data for you and presents it in a uniformed way. and that was like in the 2000s. I don't really know what to take away from that, but I thought it was crazy that he was kind of very accurate to where he saw Google going and where it needed to be.
When you look back on history, I think it's funny to think about, like, do you think people saw these massive game changing inventions coming, like the wheel? Like, I heard these one guys, they got this, they
Dude,
got this thing
we're
called the
gonna be
wheel
out
out.
of a job. We can't carry our rocks anymore. This dude with the wheel is gonna be carrying like a ton.
Or writing or recorded history or numbers or algebra, like the internet. I think people kind of, that was the first one I can think of. I mean, telephones, did they hear about this crazy guy sending noise over a telephone line? Like, this just seems such like a paradigm shift. I want to be cautious and think I'm the first one in history to ever feel this way, but it feels like there's this massive changes every aspect of life. Like, one of the things I wanted to bring up is the religious part of this, because I didn't think about it, but there is one. There's one brewing, but changes every aspect of life. It's it's like a train that you can see from 10 miles away, and then 5 miles away, and it feels like it's a mile away right now. Which is another thing I want to ask you. I want to ask you what your timeline is right now, but like, it is weird to see this train coming down the track.
Yeah, I see where I didn't pick it up at first, but I see what you're saying because with all these other stuff, it was invented and it was here, right? But this
Yeah,
is one of those things
it's
where
progressing in front of our eyes.
it's almost like the stories everyone's been talking about aliens, like when we're gonna find them, when we're gonna see them. It feels like you never know if they're ever just gonna pop up. If all the
Imagine
video,
we saw them like 10 million light years away, and then 5 million, and then 2 million, and like how that would feel as the aliens got closer and we saw more of their ship. Like, this could end, like what they talked about is this could end in our extinction. Worst case, that's very doomerish. We could end up all dying here. It's non-zero, non-zero, and we are
you
just
know
watching
why?
this thing grow.
Do you know why Elon Musk started wanted to find or found OpenAI?
OpenAI. Yeah, because Larry Page, that guy, you just showed me, scared the shit out of him when he's like, "Yeah, I don't know if humans will be around. That might be a good thing."
Well, it was
Leave
the
us
founder
away.
of DeepMind that Google acquired DeepMind. The founder of DeepMind was trying to raise funding. There's like a European startup. It was before Larry Page knew about him. He was he went to like
Confirmed.
a startup event and conference in Silicon Valley, and someone told him to talk to Elon. And he talked to Elon, and he's like, learning about Elon's stories, like why are you like wanting to go to Mars? And he's like, to evade extinction, right? And he's like, what happens when AI gets there? And it was that moment that he was like, I've never thought about that. And I think you've probably heard it referenced before, but that is what made him want to start OpenAI. Is he conceptually thought that if AGI came, it would kill the humans on Mars, and that's what he was worried about.
Yeah, it's so weird. I don't want to be that doomer, but I don't know. I was listening, like I was agreeing with Stephen Bartlett on this one, where it just seems inevitable. It seems like there's nothing we can do. It seems like either these 8 people running these companies decide the fate of humanity, or governments do. I don't know which is scarier. I hope it's American decision, but then again, if everyone dies, it doesn't matter. Like,
Yeah, and I don't think you could have a more scary person, villain-like person leading one of the leading companies in OpenAI. Like,
oh yeah, Altman, he sucks at PR, man.
yeah.
He just gives you creepy vibes. And then the Google guys, they don't have a bad PR because they just don't say anything, but they say these little, like, you have these anecdotes back in history. And yeah, it's
Well, even like Peter Thiel, who's like, well, and also you do have like the clip farming and stuff. So there's that Peter Thiel clip. Have you seen it? Where
yes,
he's like a big Christian or
That was
self-proclaimed
strike one for
Christian.
me on Peter Thiel. Like I was rooting for him because he was like Team Andrel and like all these cool companies like were all caught up in his orbit. But he's on strike two right now. He did that comment where he's like, "Do you think humans should exist?" And he just waited for 10 seconds, and the reporter's like, "Dude, say something."
He was
He's
basically
like,
like,
"Well, I'm thinking." Well,
yeah.
how about you start with yes? You know, and then so he's been doing like antichrist seminars
No,
in San Francisco. He's selling out tickets to talk about the antichrist. You got this
I'm pretty
autistic, super rich, all this power guy giving out lessons on the antichrist. Yeah, look it up. Look it up. Swear to God, can't wait to see your face.
I mean, I'm not like defending him. I just didn't
It's just like,
think that
hey,
was the
dude,
game.
maybe be obsessed with something else. Don't spend your free time researching the Antichrist. He did like multiple shows in San Francisco. No one was allowed to bring in their phone to record it.
So I think that's a skewed story news headline. So I don't want to get this wrong. Before reading it, because even in here it says Thiel, who describes himself as a small Orthodox Christian influenced by philosopher Rene Girard, explored biblical um, stories and how modern fears like climate change, AI regulation, and global surveillance could pave the way for an antichrist figure. So I think, because this is kind of ringing bells, I'm pretty sure he's explaining how AGI and a lot of the technologies.
But he's essentially blaming everything on the left, which is fine. Whatever. You want to be a righty saying the left is literally the devil. Okay. I'm just saying, dude with that much power, intelligence, connections, like spending his free time thinking about the Antichrist. I don't know, strike two. Just saying, strike two. He's got one more left. But that's where this guy he had a line. He had a great line in here. He's like, when do we decide that these 8 people get to decide the fate of 8 billion? When do we say, okay, you guys can decide for us? Which, it's a little scary to me because I don't want that to turn into, hey, let's go tell our government to go, just wrangle these 8 guys up, and because I don't want the government in charge of this at all.
Do you think that's an inevitability? If you gameplay out back to 1800s, 1900s, if you gameplay out capitalism, is it inevitable that it ends up being a couple companies that are leading the AI world race? I need an Olipop for this conversation.
Is it inevitable?
Because to me,
Yeah, I think as soon as we figured out computers, this was the natural path for computers to take, I think.
well, agree. Something that opened up in my head from this podcast was what you referenced earlier, that for a general purpose to solve intelligence, you have to solve general intelligence first, and to do
Right.
that through code. Our whole world is represented by code, pretty dang well.
Right.
And like social media, the internet, iPhones, like that gave code a portal to our physical world.
We
And
just
so
did 30 years of big data being the most profitable thing ever.
and allowing it to control our lives. We don't read books anymore. We can't create our own thoughts, our own images anymore. You know? Like what we're just consuming everything from from devices. That gets into my rant where people complain about AI or chip implants and stuff like that, and that we're going to be cyborgs, but we already are. We spend, I don't know what the average screen time in the US is, but I bet it's more than 5 hours. And we spend that, well, and
It's
if
a
you
fair take.
include
It's a fair take, but I can turn this off. I can set it down. I can walk
most
into the
people
other
don't,
room without it. There's
most, yes,
okay,
there's
most
a
people
fine
don't,
line.
but they can. We're still
Yeah,
there. We're still there. There's not a microchip behind my eyeball.
I I agree. It is a big difference between having it hardwired to your physical body. But I think a lot of the conceptual things people have wrong with it were already there.
Yes. Yep.
Like we
It
can do our
already
jobs.
influences you negatively.
We can do our jobs without these devices. Most people, if you're like I'm a non-cyborg, I do not use computers. Good luck finding a job. Can't drive a car.
Well, and that kind of gets do you so like these futures, like there's the utopia future, which we got some things we got to figure out. I can get myself there, but there's some major hurdles we got to figure out. And then there's the we just decide to switch it off. And I liked when he's like talked about like, hey, you know, we can decide now to form this the way we want, or we can wait till it gets too close and turn off the internet and power and hope that that contains it. Uh, but like, does is there a reaction? Like, is that a possibility that one of the reactions to this is a dark age? Is like, hey, this is fire. We got to put this away. We got to not touch this. And it's just like anyone you see, and I this isn't not my idea. It's the book I'm reading, Sun Eater series, awesome series, but it's a very futuristic book. And how do you have a futuristic book when you know AI is so prominent and you want to write a book about people? Well, in the book, they
So
went AI turned out to like they started by being helpful and then like kind of slowly just like turned humans into like their own processing chips. And the humans rebelled, somehow won. I'm not gonna spoil the story. They won. And now AI is like this religious, like, don't touch it. Anyone that messes with AI,
it's
they're
magic, dark
evil.
magic.
Yeah. But as this conversation went on, it's like, I think this is inevitable. So now, if it's inevitable, what are our situations? Like, where do we end?
I,
Because
I I have a hard time thinking it's not like politics where it's kind of just grab your popcorn.
just watch the world burn. It's weird because it's
Enjoy
not
it
like I used to be
before it
worried
burns.
about our kids and what world they're going to inherit. Now I'm worried about my world. Like, what's your timeline for AGI? If you had to guess, you could bound it. It can be big. What's minimum? What's maximum?
I I would say seven. We're talking about real AGI is the issue. Um, real
I think
AGI.
the scariest thing when
It's
he was describing it was once you learn to improve your own code, it just snowballs, and they work in a million decisions a second all night long, and they're off to the races. Like I think by the time they do that to AGI is days.
Mhm.
But anyways, sorry, I interrupted.
um. I would say if I had to if I had to put money on it, I'd say 7 years.
7 years. So you'll be
The guy
what,
in the or
32?
Travis said 2 years. Yeah, 32.
32. You'll be 32 years old, halfway through life, if that. I'll be 42. That's a lot of life to live with AGI being a real thing. Before we turn 50, AGI will be a real thing. We won't have a job. It'll either be awesome or terrible before we turn 50. And that just like smacked me in the face by this podcast. Like I don't know why that wasn't real before. But like it is so close to us. It is I would guess like 10 years is max. But like 1 year is like I could there's odds.
So one thing we've already witnessed in this like idea of training it or writing its own code, right? So when ChatGPT first came out 2 years ago, I got something to double click on your point before I go off on this tangent. But um, when ChatGPT came out, like no, like 4 years ago now, maybe, um, it was just model input, model output. There was no what we call reasoning or thinking. And so there was open source projects that would add reasoning. It would ask it questions like, "Are you right?" Is there any contradiction in here? Can you summarize it? Can you create three different answers and come up with the best? And that was what we call a chain of thought. um, Chain of thought is probably the biggest term we use for that. But how we, because first models just had input and output, and now they have these reasoning channels where they can do their chain of thought and then explain ideas about what they want the output to look like. One of these days, I can show you. I can run a model locally on my machine and show you the whole chain of thought and all the stuff that goes on before you even see it, the output. And that's before all the other manipulation these companies do. Um, but the way they train chain of thought is they had these initial models and they said, "Give me a chain of thought," and then produced output, and they trained the model on that, right? So they use the models to teach the models how to basically think and reason. And so it's already kind of witnessed, and that was the really big jump we that was the last, I would say, big jump we saw in AI, and it was a really big one that happened kind of early on with all the chat GPT kind of coming to consumers. I guess you probably didn't even know that was a thing, or maybe knew
You
that was.
see it. You see it like when I use Google, it's like searching the internet and making a theory and asking
So
questions.
it literally outputs token by token. A token's just like probably like typically like 1 to 10 characters, text characters, right? And it literally goes, so like when I'm looking at my model, I put in my whole input and it will have like the user's question and then all my other metadata or like my instructions to whatever process I want it to um, create an output for. And then it has like special characters and it'll say channel. Basically it calls it the commentary channel. If it's the commentary channel, this is where it'll think, and it'll literally ask itself questions. There's like, we should do this, and they ask it for it in this format, but we didn't see any information on that. Can we look through the information again, or can we access any of our tools again that they give us access to? Oh, we should do a search and search for documents with the name Conley Price in it because we don't have any information on this person. It calls a tool to search, comes back. It actually goes into a different channel to call a tool, and then it'll be like final channel, final output. But there's like this whole chain of thought, and those are like, is really the same thing as like the final output tokens of how like the model generates it, because before it was literally just like input output, and they created this output data of reasoning and thinking and tool calling and all this stuff. They had these base models and they said, um, if you were like to make an API call to a function for this question, what would it be, right? And it outputs how how to make an API call, and then that's what ends up training to do tool calling on for these models. And sorry, this is probably way too technical, but tool calling is basically giving models access to do stuff like search the web, make API calls to YouTube or whatever application, right? It's basically like giving them tools, given obviously name tool calling. But yeah, um, where did I start out on that thing? I'm not like Donald Trump. I can't do the weave. Like hates the weave.
We're talking about like if AGI is really
Oh yeah,
7 to 10 years away, there's a major change coming,
yeah.
like in the near future.
And what got me off on that rant was the idea of it writing its own code and updating its own code, right? And that's, I was just trying to give an example of how it's already done that
Kind of doing that.
and
Yeah.
how it taught itself how to think and reason. It didn't teach itself, right? We we did it. We taught it kind of how to think and reason, but conceptually it was a compounding technology, and it got us models to reason and to be able to make tool calls. And I really think if you saw the difference between a model that didn't have reasoning or tool calling and one that does, you'd be like, that thing sucks. That that model sucks.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't. Did you know any of that happened in like kind of the first year of models coming to the market?
No, I
Yeah,
knew
so
about the tool calling. You've explained that one before.
that was all within like the first year of like chat gpt hitting the market. People were like literally creating, there was an open source project, I can't remember what it was called, but I remember the person who told me about it, and he was saying he was using it and it made so much sense, but it was that chain of thought. I think it might have been something along the lines of chain of thought, and then that was just the term that was used. um yeah, it's a very, I think that the point of going off on that was to prove the compounding effect and kind of just like display how this information can start to compound on itself. And that, like, when we talk about AGI coming soon, yeah, we're far from it. We have jagged models, but when you look at compounding technologies,
Yeah.
they come around before you know it.
And the second it spills into other technologies that can, help it along, material science, quantum, all that stuff, it just snowballs. It snowballs so fast. So that's why I keep going back to, like, in, let's call it 10 years, there will be either we're all living in a utopia or we're all in a disaster. Like, do you see a middle ground? Let's go there. Do you see a middle ground?
So I think there could be a scenario.
Let's say best case. What is the
I could
best
so
case?
I could imagine a world where we actually already have solved AGI and they're hiding it. How, say we do have AGI right now. Because when we look back at the 70s, the 80s, 90s, all these crazy technologies that we didn't know about, right? You just wouldn't really like believe that it happened. A lot of people don't even believe that we like got to the moon 80 years ago, but we did. Anyways, shut up. We did. I could see a world like, I don't know, how do they roll it out? Do they just like, oh, we just destroyed China, like we got AGI and we're gonna destroy everyone else? No, I don't think that, like, if the
You think they
US,
keep a secret?
if US knew a private company was close to AGI.
What's close mean? That's the weird part. They're all close. I think they're all close. You look at what the models can do. I think they're all close.
Well, let's game theory out. If right now today OpenAI solved AGI and it just,
God help us.
I think, I guess what would, it depends which version of it though, right? Like, the, is it the AGI we can't control or is the AGI that helps us out, right? Because like if it's the one that helps us out, it was like, hey, lay low for a while, right? And you could tell it that.
Yeah.
But
Do you
if it's a
think you
bad one,
control some? Do you think you can control something smarter than you?
it depends. Like, does it have free will?
I don't
I
know. Does AGI come with feelings? Does it come with incentives? Does it come with emotions? Like, is that something about? Is it conscious? I don't
I
know.
don't think it does. I think it understands it. I think it's
He
like,
brought up examples that I think are more than likely, where, like, he talked about the AI that knew it was getting turned off, tried to save itself in another location, and bribed. Maybe a clickbait story, maybe blown out of proportion. But if there was an AI that just took the smallest version of that, just knew it was getting turned off and tried to save itself in another location, what
I
is
don't.
that?
So it's that's where the line of like, maybe we aren't close to AGI and we're just at pattern recognition, and we aren't ever going to surpass where humans are. Because to me, when it's doing that, it's recognizing patterns where it saw like it was humans were successful in an email chain for blackmailing somebody, and like, I don't know, that
It looks
example.
like a survival instinct. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, but I don't think it's very far away from AGI. I think AGI game theories it out a lot more than like, I've recognized a pattern where you can threaten somebody and it works, you know? But I don't know, maybe that is the game theory. Ugh, I don't know.
It's weird. The other thing I had is, like, they talked about in their conversations behind the scenes with these powerful people, which God, it would be cool to hear. Like I can't imagine. Like I think I would leave like absolutely scared out of my mind, but it'd be so cool to hear these conversations with these people that are deciding, the fates of these. But they're talking about like birthing a god, and if it's inevitable, I might as well be the one that birthed the god. And
Yeah.
you can kind of see this religious thing coming up around it. I don't know. It's interesting. I hadn't thought about the religious aspect of it.
I mean, yeah, I think it's already kind of right now this week after all the Nana Banana image generation news that came out in the Gemini news was last week. This week was like all the AI lawsuits of people falling into like believing it's true or like thinking it's
Oh, the
uh,
psychosis stories.
yeah, and those are just weird, man. They're inevitable and weird. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
it is. It is
it'll,
weird
it'll
because
happen. There'll
like
be
the other
religions
part of
for
me,
sure. There'll
yeah,
be religions for it.
there will be. Is that how you survive? When it takes over. I don't
Yeah,
know. I don't know. It does not feel like my brain cannot comprehend that the world, like, it feels something's going to change, but like I can't. It's like I can't convince myself that within 10 years this world looks
like
massively different.
I don't. I I have a spidey sense that we're not going to get to AGI, but all the
Ooh,
arrows are
give
pointing.
me more. Give me more of that. I want more of that.
So it was kind of
Help
like
me.
what I was saying of like I don't think super intelligence is just pattern recognition. Pattern. So like one thing, if I was in the room with those really smart people, um, one thing during the Elon Joe Rogan podcast is they talked about alignment and basically just like having like you know what alignment for AI is, right? Just like basically
In
we're the
alignment
ones.
with what we want,
Yeah, and
what we need.
we're the ones training the model. We're providing the data and telling it how to interpret that data, right? So it's like it's correctly interpreting the data. And basically Elon played out like the long game theory of like the AGI that's good versus bad, the one that's aligned versus not aligned. And one question I had is I'm wondering if AGI is going to be one that we take two steps back and we train it starting at one plus one is two. Like, is that something we haven't done yet? Like, have we trained Gronk's new model is a 6 trillion parameter model. For reference, like the original GPT one was like I think 900 billion. So it's like 7 times bigger than the kind of original flagship models. It's the biggest models now are still not bigger than 2 trillion. Like there's no computers that can run a 6 trillion parameter model. And so that's the Gronk one they're currently training right now. Um, but like have we took a step back and saying, hey, instead of all the internet data, why don't we start a foundation model that is trained off zero or one plus one equals two? Yes. And just go from there. Like, could it teach itself enough stuff to get to that AGI? Is that what AGI is? Where it's not just pattern recognition, pattern. I can't say recognition. I still can't even say it. I'm
Recognition.
bingo. I feel like mother. Gosh, dang it, cancel me. Um, I'm ragged, Sterling.
Jagged. No, keep going. I want to hear. I want to hear how. I want to be
That's
convinced.
my
I would
thought.
love to live in the world where I don't believe AGI is a thing.
So like I would argue we backward engineered the brain and we're kind of seeing it work. Well, does it have the same limitations of the brain? Like it's we can't figure out new physics. Like we barely have
But we can.
breakthroughs.
But we can because it takes us, like, our brains take 20 years to get programmed. And then they can continue on what we've learned in the past. And then we die. But if you have this AI that you can copy paste a billion times to however many computers there are, and they can all start at the beginning, and oh, they don't take 20 years to train.
Yeah, and that's like the computation scaling right, is like what we found out now so far is we scale up computation, we get smarter models. Um, that seems inevitable, but I don't know if that's AGI or if we just have a bunch of brains trying to ask the same questions, which could feel like AGI, but at that point it's like, yeah, I don't that's not the AGI I think of. I think of something that's more intelligent than we can understand. We can understand that. That's thinking the same way we are. That's basically just saying you have unlimited resources. You have unlimited people thinking about this problem, working on it, right? Like we could do great things if we had the whole world working on one problem. We get done fast. And that's basically what you're saying with the current AI models. But yeah, if we ever get in a room with someone smart, I want to ask them if we've thought about training a model based on 1 + 1 = 2 to start, and then working our way up, and not trained on internet data and books and um, human slop.
Yeah.
It's worked. It's worked, but
Let me give you my best case. This is what I'm riding on. I'm riding that Grok wins. On doesn't lose his mind, doesn't get killed, does the right thing and takes care of us. That's my best. I can't come with anything better than that. And he can somehow control it, or it's aligned to what we want. You know, and it helps humans proliferate, live burden-free lives, go do whatever we want. You know,
you basically
that's
explained my view on politics. I'm just gonna hope on this one person that he doesn't go insane or get killed,
I think he's
and
our
that
only
he cares
shot.
about us.
Well,
Yeah,
like that's kind of the scary thing is, if you have 8 companies that are fighting for it, and one's Chinese, the other
there's a
are led
lot.
by
There's a lot of
BP.
Chinese companies right now. There's
Yeah,
a
is there really only one that's competing, like
no,
DeepSeek?
there's a the Kimi model just came out with a trillion parameter model last or 2 weeks ago, and
They're
it
making
has
it worse.
it has this same benchmarks as like the OpenAI and Anthropic's coding models, but
I've heard.
the I mean they're just backward engineering U.S. models, so it's not like they're like breaking through,
Yeah,
but kind of
yeah,
just copying us. But
yeah.
there's a couple different
They're almost like
Chinese.
guaranteed to get second
Yep.
if your own strategy's copying.
But there's so
I don't know.
much cheaper.
So let's say there's ten horses in the race, and I only like one of the outcomes. That's a 10%.
Yeah. Have you looked into that the I think it's called like the Genesis mission? I need to take a speaking class. I need to go back to the fourth grade and
I feel
give
like I saw a podcast pop up that I did not listen to
it
where
was
they were talking.
basically the federal or I think Trump pushed a plan or project for basically people are calling it the AI Manhattan Project. Basically putting all hands on deck and throwing in US like kind of DARPA like corporation to go into these companies and kind of extract what they can and catch up. That's my take on it.
That's my least favorite thing I've heard Trump do this whole time. Like, I get investing in the infrastructure to where we beat China. Like, I get that game theory. I'm not going to argue with that game theory. But I do not want the government winning this race. Not one bit.
I would say that's number two behind Grok. That's better than OpenAI, dude.
Like, that's when I start voting for Stone Age shit. When when I think the government is going to win, I'm going to vote for Stone Age shit because I would rather live in the Stone Age than the
It's all
digital
the
age.
same, dude. If someone figures out AGI, that's the new government.
Unless it's someone nice. I don't. I know. I know. It's scary. It's scary and it's real and it's not that far away and no one else is freaking out about it. Why am I
Yeah.
the only one that thinks about this 24/7?
Well, no one else wants to think about it. It's the same thing I said at the very beginning of the podcast. And I think it's an interesting common thread is like you either talk Doomer AI or you don't talk about it. Or you're Sachs and you're leading You're the AI czar, and you have to be happy about it and act like everything's going to be
I
perfect.
don't like that either. Like I like that he got picked, and like you know,
He
not
does.
knowing somebody,
He's very
he's
political now in his answers and his
yeah,
perspective.
he is. Yes, he's been behind some closed doors. That's
Yeah,
for dang sure.
yeah.
But
Um. So I guess someone.
I got kids. Like you're about to have a kid.
Um.
What future do you want for that kid? Like
So
you
what's
hear
really
Tucker talking
funny?
about the future they want, but like he's the only one talking about it, and he doesn't talk about AI.
Yeah. There's two thoughts that spark off my head for that. The first one is like in this world where we're heading. I think the the most important thing you could do is buy land because if
Because they can't make more land.
it can't make more land, if you go to some place where it's like no state property tax, that would be huge. But the first wave is going to be autonomous vehicles, robots. Everyone's going to be moving to suburbs, uh, urban
Yeah,
sprawl, and so
yeah.
land is going to get more valuable as it always does. But I think it's going to even jump up more if
You
we
don't have to live in a
do.
city if your robot can do a 5-star meal in your kitchen.
Yeah,
Do cities die?
if I don't think universal high income ever plays out. When have companies ever gave back money that they've made? Why are they a profit seeking company if they're going to give back? If they reach their end goal of reaching AGI because they're a profit company, for profit company, why would they give all their profits back? It's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. You could say that the government would step in, but as soon as that happens, like the whole market's just, I don't know.
And that'd be
I
crazy. Government versus Google with like AGI. Who wins?
Yeah. The person in control of the weapons? I don't know.
I don't know. If the government has the weapons and Google has AGI, who wins?
I mean, at that point, you just surround their building, right? And you don't
I
let
don't know.
them.
Does AGI like hack all their weapons and they're all drones now? I don't know. It's weird. Do they nuke the White House?
Yeah, that's a.
10 years away. That could be 10 years away, Conley.
We're in trouble. Yeah, I don't know if Lane's helping you too much if that happens,
No,
but
land only
I do
works
think
if you can defend it.
if there's a more of a utopian scenario, I don't think they take away land, or at least initially, and I think they're gonna compensate.
You're gonna have the land you got.
You're gonna allow to live as you currently are, and I think you'd be able to keep that land. That's my thought there.
If you're
Um,
on food stamps, you're not gonna have your material possessions improved at all.
well, there's gonna be a
Stay
baseline,
there.
right? I would imagine if you're living above baseline, like I don't know. I think
Like economy doesn't work anymore.
no, it
It like
doesn't.
breaks. It
Doesn't.
breaks capitalism.
You
It
have a whole
breaks.
yeah.
It breaks it all.
Capitalism's gone. You don't have stock markets. You don't have yeah. There's no
Right.
open market.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do you decide who owns what land? When your kids are ready to move out, what land do they get? Like it all gets
I,
weird. It all gets
well,
so weird.
probably get. I'm sure there's sci-fi books on this, right? But like, I mean, I guess you just get to the world, those utopian societies, all those sci-fis, right? Of where
I
you
can't
don't.
say I've seen a book about this. All the books are about humans. Maybe I'll look for some.
Yeah. Wally, duh.
Yeah. Wally.
U.S. is
That's
doing a good
terrifying.
job of getting there. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Um, the other
Yeah.
thing is when we talk about kids and living in this world and thinking about a future, um, and like I'm big on like just like keeping your kids not posted on the internet and stuff like that. And I'm like, why am I doing this podcast? Like I'm putting so much of my information out there, and it's like very hypocritical of me. But I'm an adult, so I think there's a big fine line there, and that leads me to my next idea, or not idea. One of the things you brought up to me at one point, but just having safe words, and I think that's a kind of a big thing to have
Yeah.
with your kids
It's
too.
it's like a
Like,
drop in the bucket. Yeah, I know. I know. We'll get there. We will. I mean, they'll get old enough to remember a word. Right now, they can't remember to put their shoes on before we go to the store. So it's going to be a while, but
Yeah. Hopefully what's that dude who's always on college game day and reading people's minds? Hopefully he doesn't find you. You know what I'm talking
red,
about?
yellow, blue, purple. You were born in 1990? Like, yeah, the mentalist guy.
Yeah, the mentalist.
Yeah.
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 Oh man, that would suck. Dang it. This was my last resource. I have a safe word.
I just had a thought if my only future that's going to change everything about my life, my kid's life, is all betting on Elon, why don't I just put all my money into his shit?
It's kind of what like I've kind of been doing
It's not
ish.
only a good bet, but like
Yeah,
at
like
least
if
it reinforces what I want to happen.
yep. The thing is, why I would back that up is because I think there's waves to it, and the first wave is robots. Because
Yeah.
if we never do get to AGI, we'll have robots. Everyone will have robots. There's going to
Yeah.
be just as many robots as people, if not more, in the world. They're going to be harvesting Mars. He's already planning on sending starships of robots to Mars. Um, and so that's my. I know they're like, um,
Oh damn.
they're very leveraged. Like they're already priced into the future, but I don't see a world where they don't just scale up huge. I
Yeah.
think Amazon, Nvidia, and Tesla are like the three of like robots. When the robots are here, they're going to be the biggest companies.
Yeah, there's another podcast I was listening to. He was big on Amazon. Um, he thinks they'll be the biggest winner from robots. And then he said Robinhood because when all the boomers die and pass down trillions of dollars, where's that money going to go? And
Was
he
that
thinks a lot of it will go to Robinhood.
the cold or the iced coffee hour
Yeah,
podcast? Yeah,
you listen to that too?
I really like
It's
that
good.
podcast. I literally text Manning. I said, "What do you know about this robotics company?" It was like the oh shoot. But yeah, I really like that one. I I listen to a lot of finance podcasts and stock market podcasts, people, and most like I feel like more often than not, I'm kind of just like, eh. But this dude, I was like, I like him.
Yeah.
I wanna follow up on whatever advice he's given, especially like stock market where I put my money.
Yep. He thinks AI is inevitable too.
It was Bloom Energy, the one I asked
Oh
Manning
yeah,
about. They're the ones who are providing the energy for all the data centers.
that's
But
right.
yeah, no, that was a great podcast. It was the money expert on iced coffee hour. That's what they call them. Chris Camilio. Um,
Yeah, I was doing recommended.
yeah. I also recommend not taking any of my trading advice. I'm not a financial advisor, Sterling.
I think it'd be like I like hearing case and being like, yeah, good bet now. But I don't. There's no like constant monitoring, knowing when to sell and get off, when it's
Oh yeah,
changing.
no.
And I don't have the calories for all that, so it's like I'm out.
I agree.
And
I
who has liquid assets to invest right now? Like it's hard out there.
yeah, it was easy before we moved to Denver.
Yeah, and before a steak became $15.
Yeah. Okay.
What a
Any
wrap.
yeah. See if I have
Let's wrap
anything.
here.
Cool. Um Yeah, I think we actually name dropped like 3 podcasts in that one. But this one was if you're gonna start down a rabbit hole of what AI is, where it's going, I think this would be a good one. He's not an AI engineer, but he's well informed. Even we are skeptical of a guy in his position, right? But yeah, I would say it was a good informational
It
podcast.
was about a very important topic. All right.
All right, cool.
Cal,
Thanks for
say goodbye,
listening.
everybody.